I'm Aurora. There is a saying that I have held on to for the last few years, something that has become a mantra for me in the dark hours of the night when my mind races with anger and betrayal. The saying is simple: the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. People often misuse that quote, thinking it means family comes first, but it actually means the bonds you choose, the blood shed in battle, the covenants you make, are stronger than the genetics you are born into. I never thought I would have to teach that lesson to my own mother, but after what she did to my son, I didn't just teach her, I dismantled her entire world. I have always been the fixer in my family. I am the one who remembers birthdays, the one who organizes the anniversaries, and the one who smooths over the cracks in the plaster that barely holds our family facade together. My mother, Sylvia, is a woman who cares deeply about appearances. To the outside world, she is the matriarch of a perfect, upper-middle-class dynasty. She volunteers at the botanical gardens, she hosts book clubs where no one actually reads the book, and she judges everyone who doesn't meet her impossible standards. Growing up, I learned to navigate her moods. I learned that love was conditional. It was based on grades, on weight, on how well you played the piano in front of her friends. My younger sister, Jessica, mastered this game early on. She became the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, simply by mirroring our mother's vanity. I, on the other hand, was the independent one. I built a career in event planning and logistics. I married a man, Mark, who is kind, grounded, and entirely unimpressed by my mother's pretenses. But the real friction, the silent war that has been waging for 5 years, started when Mark and I adopted our son, Leo. Leo is 7 years old now. When he came to us, he was a frightened, quiet 2-year-old who had bounced through 3 foster homes. He had trust issues. He flinched at loud noises. He needed patience, soft words, and unconditional love. Mark and I fell in love with him the moment we saw his picture. He is our son. In every way that matters, he is ours. Sylvia, however, saw things differently. I remember the day we told her we were adopting. We were sitting in her pristine, cream-colored living room, a room no one was ever really comfortable in because you were terrified of spilling tea on the upholstery. I showed her the file. I showed her Leo's picture. I expected tears of joy. I expected a grandmother's excitement. Instead, she took a sip of her Chardonnay, looked at the photo, and said, "Are you sure, Aurora? You're still young. You could have your own. You know, real children." The air left the room. "He will be my own," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and shock. "He is a real child." "You know what I mean," she said dismissively, waving a manicured hand. "Bloodlines are important. Who knows what kind of baggage he has? What kind of genetics? It's a risk, that's all I'm saying." Jessica gave me such beautiful, biological grandchildren. It seems a shame to dilute the family image. I should have walked out then. I should have gone no contact right at that moment. But I wanted my son to have a grandmother. I wanted to believe that once she held him, once she saw his big brown eyes and his shy smile, her icy heart would melt. I was wrong. For 5 years, I watched the subtle, insidious exclusion. It was never overt enough to cause a public scene, because Sylvia is too smart for that. It was in the details. At Christmas, Jessica's children, 2 blonde, angelic-looking terrors named Sophie and Liam, would receive mountains of gifts. Elaborate Lego sets, designer clothes, savings bonds. Leo would get a sweater, or a book he already had. When Sylvia displayed photos on her mantle, it was a shrine to Jessica's kids. There were professional portraits of Sophie and Liam at every age. There was only one photo of Leo, and it was a group shot where he was half hidden behind a chair, out of focus. I fought her on it. Constantly. "Mom, why isn't Leo in the frame?" "Oh, I just haven't got around to printing the new ones. Aurora, don't be so sensitive." "Mom, why did you take Sophie to the Nutcracker but not Leo?" "Well, Leo is so energetic. I didn't think he could sit still. I didn't want him to embarrass us. Leo is the most well-behaved child I know. He is an observer. He sits quietly because he is always gauging if he is safe. To say he would embarrass her was a lie. What she meant was that his presence, his lack of family resemblance, embarrassed her. It broke my heart. I saw Leo noticing it. He would ask, "Mommy, why does Grandma hug Sophie longer?" Or "Why didn't I get to go to the fancy lunch?" We did our best to shield him, to surround him with love from our friends and Mark's parents, who adored him. But the rejection of a grandparent leaves a specific kind of scar. Then came the New Year's Eve debacle. This year was supposed to be special. My father had passed away 3 years ago, leaving Sylvia with a substantial insurance payout and a desire to re-enter the social scene as the merry widow. She decided she wanted to host a massive New Year's Eve gala. Not a party, a gala. She wanted to rent out the old Stone Creek Manor, a historical estate on the edge of town. She wanted catering, a live jazz band, a champagne tower, the works. She invited extended family we hadn't seen in years, wealthy cousins from the coast, business associates of my late father, and her entire social circle from the country club. Naturally, she came to me for help. I am an event planner. This is what I do. Aurora, darling, she purred over the phone in early November. I need this to be perfect. I need your eye. I need your connections. I want to show everyone that the family is thriving. I want to honor your father's memory with elegance. I was hesitant. I was busy with work, and frankly, I was tired of her. But the mention of Dad softened me. He had loved parties. And, foolishly, a part of me thought that if I helped her, if I gave her this perfect night, she would finally owe me. She would finally have to respect me and, by extension, my family. "Okay, Mom," I said. "I'll help. I can get you the discount on the manor through my agency, and I know a caterer who owes me a favor." "Wonderful," she exclaimed. "And the cost?" "Well, you know the insurance money is tied up in investments right now. Could you put the deposits down? I'll reimburse you in January when the dividends clear." I agreed. I put down $5,000 for the venue deposit. I put another $3,000 down for the catering company, Taste of Heaven, run by a friend of mine named Giovanni. I booked the band. I spent weekends designing the floral arrangements. I worked like a dog for 2 months, curating a Roaring Twenties theme that she insisted upon. Mark was skeptical. "She's using you, Aurora," he warned one night as I was gluing feathers onto centerpieces at midnight. "I know," I sighed. "But it's family. And she promised this is a family reunion. She said everyone is coming. It'll be good for Leo to see his cousins and aunts from out of state." Mark just shook his head and kissed my forehead. "I hope you're right." The invitations went out in early December. They were thick, cream cardstock with gold embossing. The Stone Creek New Year's Eve Gala, a celebration of family and future. I received ours in the mail. It was addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Mark Davis. Just us. I frowned. Usually, invites for families say the Davis family. But I figured it was just a formality. It was a late-night party, but Sylvia had specified that there would be a kids' lounge in the library of the manor, with a babysitter hired, so the adults could drink and dance while the cousins played video games and watched movies. It was supposed to be a multi-generational event. I called Jessica to coordinate outfits. "Hey," Jessica said, answering on the first ring. "Did you get the invite? Isn't it gorgeous?" Mom outdid herself. "I did the design, Jessica," I reminded her dryly. Right. Anyway, I bought Sophie this adorable gold flapper dress for the kids' party. And Liam has a little tuxedo. They are going to look so cute in the photos." My stomach dropped. "Wait, Sophie and Liam are going?" "Of course," Jessica said, sounding confused. "It's a family party. Mom said the photographer is taking a grandchildren of the legacy portrait at 8 p.m. before the serious drinking starts." "Grandchildren of the legacy," I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "Yeah. Why?" My invite. It didn't mention Leo. It just said Mark and me. There was a pause on the line. A long, awkward pause. "Oh," Jessica said. Her voice changed. It became tight, rehearsed. "Well, you know, Mom probably just thought, given Leo's background, maybe he wouldn't be comfortable." His background. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. His 7. His background is Lego Batman and macaroni and cheese. What are you talking about? Look, talk to Mom. I have to go. Sophie is screaming. She hung up. I drove straight to my mother's house. I didn't call. I stormed in through the unlocked front door. She was in the dining room, looking over the seating charts I had printed for her. "Aurora," she smiled, oblivious to the storm cloud entering her space. "I was just thinking, maybe we should move Uncle Robert to table 4. What do you think?" "Where is Leo sitting?" I asked. My voice was deadly calm. Sylvia froze. She adjusted her glasses and looked down at the chart. "Leo. My son. Your grandson. Where is his seat? Where is his name on the list for the kids' lounge?" She sighed, taking off her glasses and folding them deliberately. The gesture was patronizing, the way one deals with a hysterical toddler. "Aurora, honey, sit down." "I will not sit down." "Okay," she stood up, smoothing her skirt. "Here is the situation. This gala, it's very high profile. The photographer I hired is submitting the photos to Society Living magazine. They are doing a feature on the family legacy. So, she pursed her lips. We need to present a certain aesthetic, a continuity. Jessica's children, they have the family look. They have your father's eyes. They fit the narrative of the bloodline continuing." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "Are you saying you excluded my son because he's adopted? Because he doesn't look like us?" "I'm saying," she lowered her voice, as if sharing a secret, "that Leo is a sweet boy, but he isn't really part of the fabric of this family, is he? Not in the way that matters for history. Plus, he can be so unpredictable. I don't want him running around ruining the aesthetic with his distinctness. It would confuse people. They might ask questions. Who is that child? Why is he in the photo? I don't want to spend my night explaining your charity case." Charity case. The world stopped. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall seemed to deafen me. I looked at this woman whose events I had planned, whose ego I had stroked, whose lies I had upheld. "Charity case," I whispered. "Oh, don't be dramatic," she snapped. "He's better off at home with a sitter. He wouldn't enjoy it anyway. He doesn't belong in this world, Aurora. You need to accept that. You played house and got your little boy, but don't force him into a lineage he has no claim to. Mark and you are invited. Come, have a drink, celebrate the family. But leave the boy at home." She turned her back to me to move a place card. "Now, about the shrimp cocktail." Something inside me didn't just break, it incinerated. The daughter who sought approval died in that moment. The Aurora who wanted peace evaporated. What was left was a mother whose cub had just been threatened by a predator. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I realized in that split second that if I made a scene now, she would paint me as the crazy daughter. She would spin the story. She would say I was unstable. No. I needed to be smarter. I needed to be nuclear. "You're right," I said. My voice was so steady it surprised even me. Sylvia turned back, looking surprised but pleased. "I am." "Yes," I lied, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "He would probably be bored. And you want the photos to be perfect for the magazine. I get it. Bloodlines matter." She relaxed, her shoulders dropping. "Oh, Aurora, thank you. I knew you'd understand eventually. You're a good daughter. It's for the best. So, we're good." "We're good," I said. I'll make sure everything is ready for the 31st. Perfect. You're a gem. I walked out of her house. I got into my car. And then I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw. I cried for 10 minutes, slamming my hands against the steering wheel. Then, I wiped my face, checked my makeup in the mirror, and picked up my phone. I called Mark. She called him a charity case, I said. She said he's not family. She's excluding him from the party I planned, the party I paid the deposits for. There was a silence on the other end, followed by a low, dangerous growl. I'm coming over there. No, I said. No. If you go there, you'll punch her or yell, and she'll play the victim. She'll tell everyone we're ungrateful. We are going to do something better. What? We are going to give her exactly what she wants. A party where blood matters. But she's not going to like whose blood it is. I had 3 weeks until New Year's Eve. The first thing I did was review every single contract. Because I am a professional, and because Sylvia is lazy, every single vendor agreement was in my name. The venue rental, my name. The catering, my name. The band, my name. Sylvia hadn't signed a single piece of paper. She had just promised to pay me back. Technically, legally, it was my party. I called Giovanni, the caterer. Gio, I said. Hypothetically, if I wanted to change the venue of the event on the 31st, could we do it? For you, Aurora? Anything. But the manor is the only place big enough for 200 people. What if the guest list changed? I asked. What if it wasn't the 200 stuffy country club people? What if it was just the family? The real family. And our friends. Maybe 50 people. Then we can do it anywhere. Why? What did the dragon lady do? Gio couldn't stand Sylvia. She had once sent back a soup he made because the color was too aggressive. I told him everything. She said that about the kid. Gio asked, his voice dark. Leo? The kid who helped me make pasta that one time. Yes. Say no more. I'm yours. We burn the witch. Step 1 was secured. Step 2 was the venue. I couldn't keep the manor. It was too big and Sylvia would show up there. I needed to cancel the manor but make Sylvia believe it was still booked. This was tricky. If I cancelled, the venue might call her if they had her contact info as a secondary. But they didn't. They only had mine. I called the manor. You? Asterisk. I finally replied. Asterisk, I'm at the party. The one I paid for. The one for the family. Asterisk. Asterisk, what are you talking about? Send the location now. Asterisk. I sent the location. I knew they would come. Sylvia couldn't resist an audience, and she needed to save face. She couldn't just go home. She had to find where the real party was. 20 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Sylvia stormed out, looking like a deranged disco ball. Her hair was windswept, her face red with fury. Jessica trailed behind her, looking confused and angry. The music stopped. The room went silent. Sylvia marched up to me. I was standing by the bar, holding Leo's hand. You, she screeched, pointing a shaking finger at me. You vicious, spiteful little. You humiliated me. You cancelled the manor. My friends. Judge Hawthorne. They all left. They think I'm an idiot. Hello, Mother, I said calmly. You look stressed. Stressed. I am going to sue you. I am going to. Why is everyone here? She looked around, realizing for the first time that her brother, her in-laws, and her key connections were all standing there, holding drinks, watching her scream. She froze. The mask tried to slip back on. She tried to smooth her hair. Robert. Clara. What? I thought. Aurora invited us, Sylvia, Uncle Robert said, stepping forward. His voice was stern. She said there was a venue change. Why are you screaming at your daughter? She. Sylvia stammered. She couldn't tell the truth. She couldn't say, she cancelled the party because I called her son a charity case. She messed up the booking. Sylvia improvised. She ruined the night. And look at this place, it's not what we planned. I think it's lovely, Aunt Clara said. And look, Leo is here. You told me Leo wasn't feeling well, Sylvia. You said that's why he wasn't on the guest list. The trap snapped shut. Sylvia paled. I stepped forward. I let go of Leo's hand and let Mark pull him back a few steps. Mom didn't want Leo here, I said, my voice projecting clearly across the rooftop. She told me explicitly that Leo wasn't real family. She said he was a charity case and that he would ruin the aesthetic of her photos. She wanted a legacy photo with only the biological grandchildren. A gasp rippled through the room. My family has its issues, but we don't do bigotry. Not openly. And certainly not against children. That's a lie. Sylvia shrieked. I never said that. You did, I said. You said he doesn't match the bloodline. You said I was playing house. You told me to leave him at home so you wouldn't have to explain him. I pulled out my phone. I didn't record the conversation, Mom. But I did save the text you sent me afterwards. I hadn't mentioned the text earlier. But she had sent one, just to twist the knife, after I left her house that day. Text from Mom. Make sure you don't bring him, Aurora. It's for the best. We need the photos to look pure. I held the phone up. I showed it to Uncle Robert. I showed it to Aunt Clara. Uncle Robert looked at the screen. He looked at Sylvia. The disgust on his face was total. Sylvia, Robert said, his voice low and cold. You care more about a photo than your own grandson. He's not my grandson. Sylvia snapped, finally losing control. He is some stray she picked up. He has nothing to do with us. Look at him. He doesn't belong here. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Leo buried his face in Mark's leg. Mark looked ready to kill, but he held back because he saw what was happening. Sylvia was destroying herself. Get out, Uncle Robert said. Sylvia blinked. Excuse me. This is my party. I'm paying for it. Actually, I interjected. You haven't paid a dime. I paid for the venue. I paid for the food. I paid for the band. This is my party. You are a guest. And you are no longer welcome. You can't do this to me, Sylvia hissed. I am your mother. And I am a mother, too, I said. And I am protecting my son from you. You wanted a party for the real family? You're looking at it. The people who love us. The people who don't care about genetics. You are the one who doesn't fit in here, Sylvia. You're the one who ruins the aesthetic. Jessica. Sylvia turned to her golden child. Do something. Jessica looked around the room. She saw the wealthy relatives glaring. She saw the social suicide that was happening. She looked at her mother, then at me. Mom, Jessica whispered. You really said that about Leo? Oh, stop pretending you care, Sylvia spat. You agree with me. I don't, Jessica said, stepping back. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But Jessica is a survivor. She knew which way the wind was blowing. I think you should go, Mom. Sylvia looked at her, betrayed. She looked at the room of 50 people, her family, all united against her. She tried to muster some dignity. She straightened her spine. Fine. If you all prefer this circus, over elegance, then I pity you. I'm leaving. She turned and walked to the elevator. No one stopped her. No one chased her. The doors closed, and she was gone. For a moment, it was quiet. Then, Giovanni, the caterer, walked out with a massive tray of lobster sliders. "Okay," he shouted. "The witch is dead. Who's hungry?" Laughter broke out. The tension snapped. The band started playing Celebration. The rest of the night was magical. Uncle Robert made a toast to Leo, calling him the future of the Davis family. My cousins played tag with Leo on the dance floor. We drank, we danced, we laughed. It was the best New Year's Eve of my life. The aftermath was brutal for Sylvia. Because the sycophants had been left at the locked gate of the manor, word spread fast. They were insulted. They felt scammed. Sylvia tried to blame me, saying I was incompetent, but Uncle Robert set the record straight. He told the key people in town exactly what Sylvia had said about my son. In our town, being a snob is one thing. Being cruel to an adopted child? That's social poison. The Society Living magazine feature? Cancelled. The Botanical Garden Board? They asked her to step down quietly. She lost her deposit on the manor. Well, I lost it, but it was worth it. She lost her status. She lost her family. She tried to reach out a month later. She sent a letter, because I had blocked her number. It wasn't an apology. It was a demand for the money she felt she was owed for emotional distress and a lecture on how I had broken the family code. I burned the letter. We haven't spoken to her since. Jessica keeps low contact, mostly to keep her inheritance prospects alive, but she knows better than to bring Sylvia up around me. Leo is thriving. He doesn't remember much about Grandma Sylvia anymore. He has a Grandma Clara, Aunt Clara stepped up, who knits him sweaters and thinks he hangs the moon. I learned something that New Year's Eve. I learned that you can't force someone to love your child. But you can make damn sure they don't get to hurt them. I looked at the photos from that night recently. There is one candid shot. It's me, Mark, and Leo laughing, with confetti falling around us. We don't look like a legacy. We don't look like a magazine cover. We look like a family. And that is the only aesthetic I care about. I'm Aurora. And that's how I uninvited my mother from her own life. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Pause. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but narcissists like Sylvia don't just fade away into the night. They fester. They plot. And the silence that followed New Year's Eve was only the eye of the storm. 3 months later, in the spring, the aftershocks began. It started with Mark's job. Mark is an architect at a mid-sized firm. He's talented, hardworking, and was up for promotion to junior partner. Sylvia knew this. In the past, she had bragged about it, claiming his success was due to her guiding hand, which consisted of criticizing his tie choices. Mark came home one Tuesday looking grey. "What's wrong?" I asked, putting down the laundry basket. "I got called into the senior partner's office," he said, loosening his tie. "Someone filed an anonymous ethics complaint against me." "What? On what grounds?" "Embezzlement. Kickbacks from contractors." I stared at him. Mark is the most honest man I know. He returns extra change at the grocery store. That's insane. I know. But they have to investigate. It puts my promotion on hold. Maybe indefinitely. Who filed it? Anonymous. But the partner said the letter mentioned details about our personal finances. Specifically, the lavish party we threw on New Year's Eve while claiming financial hardship. We hadn't claimed financial hardship. But Sylvia knew I had spent a chunk of savings on the party. "It's her," I said. The realization was cold and instant. "She's trying to sabotage your career." I was shaking with rage. Insulting my son was one thing. Trying to destroy my husband's livelihood was an act of war. I didn't call her. That's what she wanted. She wanted the fight. She wanted the drama to feed her victim complex. Instead, I went into detective mode. I knew Sylvia wasn't smart enough to write a convincing legal complaint on her own. She would have enlisted help. And I knew exactly who her favorite legal expert was, a shady lawyer named Greg who she played bridge with. I hired a private investigator. It cost another chunk of our savings, but I didn't care. I needed proof. 2 weeks later, the PI came back with gold. He had photos of Sylvia meeting with Greg. But more importantly, he found that Sylvia had been bad-mouthing Mark's firm at the country club, claiming they were scammers who stole her daughter's inheritance. She was scorching the earth. I took the evidence to Mark's boss. I showed him the timeline. I explained the family estrangement. I showed him the text messages from Sylvia threatening to make us pay, which she had sent to Jessica, who foolishly forwarded them to me as a warning. Mark's boss was a smart man. He saw through it. The investigation was dropped. Mark got the promotion. But now, the gloves were off. I decided to hit Sylvia where it hurt the most, her money. See, my father didn't trust Sylvia completely. He knew she was frivolous. So, when he set up the trust fund that held the bulk of the estate, he made me the co-trustee. For years, I had just signed whatever she put in front of me because it was easier than fighting. She lived off the dividends, and I let her. I dusted off the trust documents. I read the fine print. The trust stipulated that the funds were to be used for maintenance of the primary residence and reasonable living expenses. I looked at her spending. The gala deposit she lost? Trust money. The new Porsche she leased to soothe her ego? Trust money. The constant vacations to recover from her daughter's betrayal? Trust money. She was draining the principal. I exercised my right as trustee. I froze the account. The phone call came 4 hours later. Aurora. It was a shriek so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Hello, Sylvia. My card was declined. I am at the spa, and my card was declined. What did you do? I'm auditing the trust, Mother. As trustee, I have a fiduciary duty to ensure the funds aren't being squandered. Looking at the statements, well, it looks like embezzlement. Embezzlement. It's my money. It's the family trust. Dad intended it to last for 20 years. You've burned through 30% in 3 years. Until the audit is complete, you are on a fixed allowance. $2,000 a month. $2,000. That won't even cover my wine bill. Then I suggest you switch to boxed wine. Or maybe get a job. I will sue you. Go ahead. The legal fees will have to come out of your allowance. Good luck. I hung up. For the next 6 months, she lived in a hell of her own making. She had to return the Porsche. She had to fire her housekeeper. She had to actually cook her own meals. She tried to turn the family against me again, crying poverty. But Uncle Robert, who knew the numbers, shut her down. Aurora is saving you from yourself, Sylvia. Be grateful you're not on the street. But the final blow, the true end of the saga, came from an unexpected place. Jessica. Jessica, the golden child, the enabler. Sylvia, desperate for narcissistic supply and money, had turned her focus entirely on Jessica. She moved in with Jessica temporarily to save money. She began criticizing Jessica's parenting, her husband, her weight, her house. Without me there to be the scapegoat, Jessica became the target. It took 3 months of living with Sylvia for Jessica to break. She showed up at my door one rainy Tuesday evening. She was soaking wet, crying, with Sophie and Liam in tow. "Can we come in?" she sobbed. I opened the door. "Get in." Jessica sat on my couch, shivering. "I can't take it. She's a monster." She told Sophie she was getting fat. She told Liam he was stupid because he got a B in math. She's doing to them what she did to us. I handed her a mug of tea. "I know." "I'm sorry," Jessica wept. "I'm so sorry, Aurora. I should have stood up for Leo. I should have stood up for you. I was just so scared of her turning on me. And now she has. It's okay, I said, and I meant it. You see it now. I do. I want her out of my life. I want her out of my house. Then let's get her out. We formed a united front. Mark, me, Jessica, and her husband. We packed Sylvia's bags. We found her a small, affordable condo in a senior living community, paid for by the trust, strictly budget-controlled. We moved her in. We changed the locks on Jessica's house. When we left her at the condo, Sylvia tried one last Hail Mary. She stood in the parking lot, looking small and old. "You're abandoning me," she wailed. "After everything I sacrificed." I rolled down the window. "We aren't abandoning you, Mom. We're setting boundaries. You can see the grandkids when you can follow the rules. Rule number 1, treat everyone equally. Rule number 2, no criticism." "I won't be silenced," she yelled. "Then you'll be lonely," I said. We drove away. It's been 2 years since then. Sylvia is still in the condo. She has mellowed, slightly, mostly out of necessity. If she acts up, we put her in a timeout, no visits for a month. It's treating her like a toddler, but it works. Leo is 9 now. He plays soccer. He loves astronomy. He and his cousins, Sophie and Liam, are inseparable. Jessica and I are closer than we've ever been. Last Christmas, we hosted the dinner. Sylvia was allowed to come for 2 hours. She walked in. She saw Leo. He was taller, confident. "Hello, Leo," she said stiffly. "Hi, Grandma," he said politely, then ran off to play with his cousins. She watched him go. She looked at me. "He's grown." "Yes," I said. "He has. He's a Davis. Through and through." She didn't argue. She just nodded, took her seat, and ate her dinner. She knew she had lost. She knew that the blood she prized so much was nothing compared to the covenant we had built. I looked around the table. At Mark, my rock. At Jessica, finally free. At the kids, laughing. This was the victory. Not the party, not the money, not the revenge. The victory was this: peace. And if anyone ever tries to tell my son he doesn't belong again, well, they know what happens. Aurora is always watching. And I have plenty of room left on my blacklist. I'm Aurora. And that is the story of how I burned down a dynasty to build a home.